Hi friends, Stevie here. Welcome to my Better Backbends program full of standalone classes that also mesh together. First of all, if you've heard this spiel before and you want to jump straight to the class, go ahead and skip to. Otherwise, welcome! This program is a remake and an improvement on my older program that was on Cody app, also titled Better Backbends. It will have more classes, new information, more accessible teaching and language, and yeah, just be better overall. It's also an improvement on my old Backbend book, which is no longer available. Maybe will be in the future. Anyway, they're presented in the suggested order and will be launched in the suggested order on the app. However, they do stand alone and you can do them in any order and skip any classes that you like. That being said, for example, there's one towards the end called Final Flow, and it'll be a longer flow style class where we'll go over some more complex transitions and just more complicated movements. And if you find any of that confusing, it could be helpful to then go back to a previous class. So what is Better Backbends? Is it just about things like wheel? Is it about really complex things like TikToks or dropping back? It's about everything. My goal for this program is to make it accessible and interesting and to leave people with an understanding that back bends are not just about the back. It's not just about bending in your spine. That back bends are in fact full body postures. Hence why so many of these different micro workshops or mini flows start to target different portions of something that is involved in a back bend, whether it's shoulders or finding activation, strength in the back or posterior line of the body, finding a little bit more space in the hips so we can spread the bend around, getting some hamstring control, and maybe finding more space up your cervical and thoracic where a lot of us can feel sticky using props. So much good info is covered in this, and I tried to put it into bite-sized pieces, knowing that backbends are really different and individual, customizable. Hopefully with these smaller pockets, you don't feel overwhelmed, and also understanding that backbends are somewhat cumulative, meaning if you're just coming into this, you may not leave with this perfectly round wheel or Kapotasana or flip grip king dancer, right? But hopefully this will provide a toolbox of different techniques that you can use as you investigate in your own body how to find a stronger, smoother, more supple bend, which can look so different in different postures. Sometimes we like to think about back bends as being extension, and that's true. We do often have some extension of the spine, but there might be flexion in other joints depending on the exact posture we are lusting after, or maybe we're not looking for a specific posture. I tend to stay away from too many peak pose or even peak transition classes these days and go more towards a theme. And so a lot of what will be provided here is just this idea of opening and expansion while also keeping it active, keeping it challenging, but still accessible, and just enjoying the journey. For a lot of the backbend offerings, I do suggest having a variety of props. 2 sturdy blocks can be really helpful. I like cork or wood or bamboo, a blanket or even 2, a rolled up towel works fine, a strap, a tie, and maybe even an extra mat. Once in a while, I might call it a chair. I'll tell you if that's in your class beforehand, but it can be helpful to have a sturdy folding chair or a dining chair that you can use to find a little bit of opening as well. And I hope that as you progress through this, again, it's open for all levels, it's available for all levels, that you're able to pick and choose what works best for your body, your needs, and your goals in your movement practice. As always, I'm open to suggestions and thoughts. I'll be adding more and more bonus things to this and maybe even making it its own category if that's something that interests y'all. I know we have a lot of people interested in things that involve backbends. There are so many cool transitions with backbends, but let's get started with some of the basics, focusing on different joint movements and then putting it all together, whether it's in a flow or a workshop-y style setting, because different things work better for different people. Thanks for joining me, and let's get moving. Hey friends, Stevie here, back with another offering for the Better Backbends program, but also a standalone class/workshop. This is technically the second one in the offering if you're trying to do them in order behind the almost instant backbend flow. This is Space Through Strength. This class is very different from our almost instant backbend flow because it's much more workshop style, but a short workshop, meaning the goal is to focus on this idea of strength through the back body line, aka the posterior or the back side of the body, and a lot of the musculature that's back there, and using that strength to help pull us into a bend. You know, backbends are definitely about flexibility, and they're also about strength. And they don't have to be these mutually exclusive things. In fact, hopefully there's this beautiful blend of our body allowing us space, but also having strength to pull us into these positions and to feel stable there. So today, even though we might not be doing the deepest of bends, we'll hopefully be finding and playing with this idea of what does it mean to have engagement along the back body line as we work our way up to dun dun dun, King Cobra. Now, if you're like, absolutely not, King Cobra is not for me. Yeah, I can't do King Cobra. Like the thing where you're on your belly and you touch your feet to your head, and you'll get to see it on camera. I cannot do King Cobra, even after these tools and tricks. But the idea is not to really touch our feet to our head. It's to understand how it feels to connect the brain to the back part of the body and to use that connection to help pull ourselves into a more well-rounded bend. And even if you skip the peak posture altogether and just play with me throughout these other drills, it could be helpful and applicable elsewhere in your movement practice. Now, you do need some props today, a softer surface since we'll be laying on our belly and our back a lot. And then you need 2 blankets or 2 towels. If you don't have 2 towels, like 2 hoodies that you can roll up, as well as 2 blocks. I'm using cork blocks because my wood filios, they slip on my pants and I'll be squeezing them in my thut. So if you're like, uh-oh, we're doing that today, yes, we are. So that means you want to grab some foam blocks because you're looking for something a little lighter. I get it. I've got my corks, at least they don't slip and slide, but they are heavy. I'll give you a second to gather whatever it is you'd like, and then let's meet on the mat. All right, so we'll be starting off by establishing some reference points in the body, and some of you have done this with us before. If you have yoga blankets, I left mine in a messy pile so we can fold them together. Take your yoga blanket and unfold it, and then fold it in half like a hot dog, like a hot dog. Once you have it folded like a hot dog, fold it long ways again, so it's like, I don't know, approximately half of your mat. And then roll it up into a little roll. And here's the thing. If you don't have a yoga blanket and you're using a towel, fold it however. Maybe just roll it so that it is approximately this thick. I think a regular bath towel, if you just roll it up, will probably work just fine like that. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other one. Get it folded correctly for this specific exercise. So I learned this reference point, bend 1 and 2, from Christina Sell, who I took my 300 hour from, and a lot of other things. And it's a little bit more Anusara based, this idea of finding these specific reference points for your back body, but it's less about these exact points and more about connecting brain to body in that specific region, the middle and the upper back, that we can have a little bit of trouble sometimes connecting our brain to. So no. Once you have your 2 rolls, you will put them on your mat. One maybe approximately, I don't know, like a third of the way down, and the other one pretty close to it, okay? I'm actually going to move mine just a little bit further down just because I got my blocks over there. So I say pretty close to it because the goal would be, as I lay back over this on my back, for this top one to start at the base of my neck. So the bottom of your neck is where you'll start. And yeah, I'm wearing a sweatshirt today because it's cold, although it's really not that cold in this room. But I forgot to mention that I like to be really warm when I'm doing my back bends. It helps me find a little bit more space. And if I'm cold, I'm not finding nearly as much space. But it's also about the activation. And hopefully I'll create more muscle heat and I might shed some layers, but likely not. So anyway, I digress. First one at the base of the neck. And the second one, you're looking for it to be more towards the bottom body of your shoulder blades, even the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. If you're like, where are my shoulder blades? Think about like the bra strap line, if you happen to wear those, or the sports bra strap line, or even just like the bottom points of your shoulder blades. You can kind of feel behind yourself. If you had that kind of mobility, you're looking at around the mid back. So
Depending on your body, you may have the blankets squished next to each other, or they may be a little bit further apart. Get comfy, lay back on them, and notice my shoulders, they're like on top of this roll. Like it's not like the roll is up here, right? My shoulders are on top of the roll so that I can cactus my arms and lay them down. And then your head comes to the floor. And if you're like, absolutely, this is not comfortable, put a block under your head or another blanket roll. It's not a big deal. We'll only be here for a few minutes. And you will find that your chest feels kind of lifted and your arms might have to touch the floor. They might hang. You can always put them on your belly if that's more comfortable. But it is nice to get a little bit of this kind of passive chest opening while we're here in this position. And just for a moment, lay back over these rolls and notice your breath. I have found that this bend 1 and 2 reference can be quite helpful for people. And if you have the time and availability to do it like on your back body, whether it's using blanket rolls or blocks, blanket rolls are a little more comfortable. It's easier to access it in some other postures. As we move through this program, we'll do it and we'll reference bend 1 and 2 without necessarily laying on the blanket roll. Hence why it's often easier to do this in the suggested order. But I know not everyone has availability in their classes for everybody to have 2 blankets, nor the time to set something like this up. All right, notice your breath, whether it's a specific breathing pattern or your own natural breath. As you inhale, it's likely that your chest lifts and rises. And as you exhale, you might find yourself sinking a little bit more into the blanket roll. Can you pass your attention to the back of the heart? And yes, the front of the chest will lift, but can you also notice as you inhale if the back of the heart expands into your blanket rolls? Our lungs are slightly more posterior, and so when we think about this 360-degree expansion of an inhale, there is an expansion on the back body too. And then the exhale is just a gentle return to center. Keep any natural breathing pattern you like. Now turn the attention to your head. Gently push the back of your skull into the floor or the mat. Gently. 20% power, nothing major. Press the back of your skull into the mat and squeeze the top tips of your shoulder blades together. The top tips, right at the base of your neck, like you're trying to grab a pencil between them. It might be towards the top of the blanket roll, like you're trying to pinch and lift the top of the blanket roll. Again, about 20-25%. Push the back of the skull in. Imagine giving yourself a light double chin. It's not like you're tucking your chin deeply. There's a space for an orange there, but you're pressing the back of your skull in, and it might give this feeling or sensation of a light double chin. And then squeeze that blanket roll 1, that top blanket roll. Release and just soften. If you'd like to at any point extend your legs long, you can. It's a little bit easier for me to maintain pelvic positioning with my legs bent, so I often do that. Press the back of your skull in again. Squeeze the top tips of your shoulder blades like you're pinching and lifting blanket roll 1. You may find your chest expand. Squeeze a little bit more, hugging your shoulder blades together on the back of your body. Sometimes I find it easier to press my elbows down into the floor as well. Press the back of your skull and give yourself this double chin. Gentle squeeze and pinch and relax. Flatten. It's a small thing to see on someone else, but it can be a big sensation for you as a human. One more time like that with blanket roll 1. Push the back of the skull in. Squeeze the top blanket roll. Pinch those shoulder blades together on the back body. When we say engage blanket roll 1, this is what we are looking for. This kind of sensation, pressure in the back of the skull, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Relax, release. So we get to blanket roll 2 by going through blanket roll 1, and that's often the harder sensation for people. So before we get into it, let me explain. We will do blanket roll 1, the same thing we just did, and then keeping that, think about dragging the shoulder blades down the body towards the hips. You may find your bend is actually lessened, right? A bend is actually pulled back a little bit, but we're just spreading it out a bit more. And often there's a little bit more core involvement when we get to bend 2 or blanket roll 2 as well. So blanket roll 1, push the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, pinch blanket roll 1. Keep that. Now think about dragging your shoulder blades down until you can, find that place where blanket roll 2 touches the back of your body. Sometimes I think about pulling my elbows towards my hip points here, keep the pressure at the back of the skull, keep the shoulder blades squeezing together, keep breathing, and relax, release. This might be a bigger sensation for people, and if you've never done this kind of work before, you might notice tomorrow that you're sore in a very specific region, aka blanket roll 2 region. Let's do it again. Push the back of the skull back, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Blanket roll 1. Keep that. Drag the shoulder blades down towards the hips. Keep squeezing them together. Drag the shoulder blades down like you're coiling and curling. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades hugging in towards the midline and dragging down towards the hips. My arms are very engaged. You could tell that because I have trouble doing this without my arm engagement. Relax, release. Not a bad thing, just to note that the arms do play a role in the shoulder blades because, hey, it's all connected. One more time like that. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Blanket roll 1 or bend 1, we often call it. Beautiful. Move into bend 2. Hug the shoulder blades together and drag them down your body towards your hip points, but they're still squeezing towards the middle. We still have that retraction going on. Now we just also added in some depression of the shoulder blades. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. You may find that there's a shaking sensation when you do that. I at least do. It's a lot of effort, and it's a lot of effort even for my brain. Briefly roll to the side. Remove your blanket rolls. We'll revisit them later, so you may want to keep them nearby and somewhat in their state. Hi, blanket rolls. And just come back to your body for a second. Cactus your arms. Keep the soles of the feet planted. Notice how different it feels to have the back body flat-ish on the ground. Of course, we're not flat. We're kind of rounded in different ways. Beautiful. Pull the knees in. Give them a squeeze. Move your hands to the back of the thighs and begin to rock up and down the back body, rounding through the spine so it's a smooth roll. Rock all the way to a seated position. Sit on a block if that's more comfortable, or just sit on the floor or a blanket roll. I'm going to face the side so you can kind of see what's happening in my body here. You know, we talked about a little bit at the beginning of this class that this class is called Space Through Strength, and we're looking for engagement along the back body line. And in my personal experience, I often find that engagement in the middle and upper back, and even this idea of retracting the shoulder blade, which is different than, spinal extension, but all related and all playing a role, is a conscious choice. And what I mean by that is you can totally decide whether to have muscular work or attention to some of these smaller areas, or just to floss through movements. So let's just floss through some movements. Sit up tall, take your arms out into a cactus, press your chest forward, take a big inhale. And then as you exhale, round through the spine and bring your elbows toward each other. Let it be soft here. Inhale, blossom open. And exhale, wave it close. You can let your pelvis play here. Inhale, blossom open, meaning rock back and forth. Exhale, round, tuck the tailbone under, and let it be fluid, maybe even move faster than the breath. Notice what this feels like. It's nice, and it's a great way to bring kind of lubrication to the body and mobility to the body, but I'm not doing a ton of muscular work either way. There's like a little bit of a squeeze action I feel at the very back of this cactus motion, but it's nothing major, right? But then we can consciously think about adding a little bit more work in there too. So sit up tall, cactus your arms. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together onto the back body. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Exhale, really round. Touch the elbows towards each other and pull them away from self, right? So now as we inhale, let's use our bend 1 and 2. Inhale, bend 1, push the back of the skull back, squeeze the upper tips of the shoulder blades together. Exhale, pull the shoulder blades down towards the sit bones. Pull the shoulder blades down, so bend 2. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, release and round, elbows touch. Inhale, bend 1, blossom open, push the back of the shoulder blades together. Push the back of the skull together. Push the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Exhale, bend 2, drag your shoulder blades down your hip bones. And I actually physically drag my elbows in here. One more inhale. Exhale, round, touch your elbows to or towards each other. Inhale, bend 1. Exhale, bend 2. One more. Inhale. Exhale, release. Round. One more time like that. Inhale, bend 1. Exhale, bend 2. Inhale to hold. Exhale, release. Try that once more on your own. I'm starting to get a heating sensation all along my upper and mid back from these small and unusual movements. So try it one more time on your own. Beautiful. Ooh. Get yourself a little twisty action, going back and forth. Ooh, if that feels good for your body. Twisting is also really, really helpful for back bends of all kinds and kind of freeing up some of the movement in the upper part and the middle part of the body that can be a little sticky. So if you'd like to twist either direction, just kind of a quick little twist, that could be fun. Explore how different positions of the arms affect this. Just get some free form movement. Again, because sometimes it's nice to find this big muscular contraction and hold things, and it's also nice to kind of just floss through movement. Speaking of floss through movement, roll over your shins and make your way to a tabletop position to find some cat-cow. And at first, as you get into your tabletop, just do a really flossy-dossy cat-cow. So just kind of bloom back and forth in your cat-cow, thinking about dropping your chest and pushing the back of your heart up. You can do it with your breath or even faster. Just have it be really blooming, and that feels good for a lot of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. But can we make it work for us in a different way? And that's this idea of thinking again of that bend 1 and 2. So we'll do that kind of triple breath in more of the cow position, and then the single hold for the cat. So set yourself up for success. Put a small bend in your elbows. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Push down firmly through the knees. Think about a gentle tug of your pubic bone towards your sternum just to kind of hold your pelvis in position a little bit and make this more about the upper body. Inhale, bend 1. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze the shoulder blades lightly together. Exhale, bend 2. Drag your shoulder blades towards your hip bones. Do this by pulling your hands towards your knees. Pull your hands towards your knees. One more inhale here. Coil and curl. Exhale, release. Cat pose. Press the back of your heart up. Inhale, bend 1. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Exhale, bend 2. Drag your shoulder blades towards your hip points. Drag your knees towards your hands. Inhale one more time. Exhale. Dome the back of the heart towards the ceiling, cat pose. Inhale, bend 1. Exhale, bend 2. Inhale to hold. Exhale, cat pose. One more time all together. Inhale, bend 1. Exhale, bend 2. Inhale to hold. Exhale, cat pose. Try that once more on your own, y'all. Beautiful. Sit back and gently roll the wrists. Finding a little bit of movement in the fingers. We will have some weight in the hands here for some of this, especially as we focus on kind of finding strength in the legs. So we're going to switch over for just a second. We've been really working kind of that upper and mid back section of the body and focus on the legs, because another big part of back bends, but especially of King Cobra, is this idea of contraction of the hamstring. So this concentric or shortening contraction of the hamstrings, and that can be really hard for people. Often they complain about like their feet running away from them in something like this. That's definitely what happens to me. That's because it's hard. It's hard to find true hip extension, and it's minimal for most of us. And then also when we're in hip extension, it can still be hard to find that concentric or really shortening contraction of the hamstrings, especially as the knees flex a lot, right? As they get really short. When you get the end range of that contraction, it's so hard. And even the idea of like squeezing a block can make it really, really challenging. So now that I've given you enough of a break, hopefully, grab onto one of your blocks. If you have a foam block, it will be much nicer. But if you have a wood block, I'm sorry, especially if you're wearing slippery pants, you're going to take it and you're going to put it in the thut. What's the thut? It is the space right underneath your butt. Find your butt, high butt, slide it underneath. Now you can put it this way, you can put it this way. I like it this way, and then you're going to squeeze it. You kind of have to work with your anatomy, but you're going to squeeze it with your heel, and you might be already like, wow, that sucks. Can you do it the other way? Absolutely. But friends, it's going to be a tighter contraction there. This to me is already plenty. What we are doing here between the heel and the under booty or the thut is squeezing the block so that we can lift it up from a tabletop position. It's in my right leg for now. Join me when you're ready. If the block falls out, mine probably will, that's fine. Find a small bend in the elbows. Pull the hands gently back towards the knees. Place the weight more into the left side and lift the right leg up. Resist the urge to tip your pelvis forward and try to keep pulling your pubic bone towards your sternum. Instead, just lift the knee up and squeeze through the right booty. I know you're squeezing your hamstring. Why? Because your block is there, right? But try to squeeze the right booty too. Tent the left fingertips. Push down firmly through that right hand and maybe reach the left arm long. Inhale, reach and lift without changing the pelvis. Exhale, bring your knee and elbow close towards each other. And they might not touch without dropping the block, and that's fun. That's fine. It's also fun, right? Inhale, expand without changing the position of the pelvis. Exhale, round it in. Inhale, expand. Exhale, round it in. One more time like that. Inhale, expand. Exhale, round it in. Release your left hand, but keep the block lifted up. Without losing that position of the pelvis, can you pulse your little right toes towards the sky? Pulse, just small movements, very, very small at the top of your range of motion. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Tuck your left toes. Walk your hands about 6 inches further forward. Lift up, downward facing dog. Try not to drop your block. If it falls again, not a big deal. Now, bend the knee, open up the hip here just a little bit. I know you've got your block. And then close the hip. Bend the knee, open up the hip. And close the hip. One more time. Bend the knee, open up the hip. And close the hip. Pulse those toes towards the ceiling. Now in a downward facing dog style position. Again, trying to keep the hip steady, but it should be a little easier here because the left leg kind of limits how much we can move the hip. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower your left shin. Do you still have your block? Oh, let it go. Yuck. My right hamstring says, wow, okay, we haven't done that in a minute. I used to do these drills all the time. Let's do the other leg, huh? You might find one is a lot easier. I made the mistake of doing my favorite leg first. I always do that, and it's always a bad choice. Okay, so find the foot in the left side and set yourself up for success. Sorry, allergies are kicking my butt today. All right, small bend in the elbows. Neutral pelvis, pull the pubic bone towards the sternum. Hover the left leg off the ground. It might not go as high or it might go higher. Hold, and squeeze to the left booty. Squeeze to the left booty as you hug the block. Tent the right fingers. Maybe you reach the right arm forward. Lift both a little bit more. Pull them in towards center. Minimal change of the pelvis. Extend long. Pull them in towards center. Extend long. Pull them in towards center. One more like that. Extend long. Pull them in towards center. Release the right hand down. Lift the left leg. Keep the pelvis steady. Tiny, tiny pulses of the left toes towards the sky. We got this, y'all. Tiny, tiny pulses. Minimal movement of the pelvis. River 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tuck the right toes. Walk the hands slightly further forward. Lift up. Down dog. Did you keep your block? Oh, I did, surprisingly. Open up your hip. Close your hip. Open up your hip. Close your hip. Open up your hip. Close your hip. Lift and pulse those left toes. Push their hands. Move for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly lower your right knee to the floor. Can you keep your block? And then, drop it. It's no fun. Beautiful. Say thank you, block. That was interesting. Put it off to the side and give your wrists a little bit of a roll. Wiggle your fingers. Find a downward facing dog that's comfortable for you. And now that you don't have your block, wiggle it out a bit. Wiggle it out a bit. Notice how much nicer it feels. Give the back of your legs some love. And then lift the right leg up towards the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip. But even though you don't have the block, can you really think about hugging the block and curl your heel towards your sit bone? Curl your heel towards your sit bone and keep that curl. Take some circles of the right knee in one direction. Take some circles of the knee in the other direction. Beautiful. Pause with the knee high. One more squeeze. And release the right leg. Other side. Left leg up. Bend the knee, open the hip. Squeeze an imaginary block. Take some circles. Circles in the other direction. Keep the heel close to the sit bone. Pause. Lift the knee up. And release. Round forward into a plank pose. Press the ground firmly with the hands. Lower your knees. Now, we're going to do knees, chest, shin. And let's do it once, just thinking about using gravity, and then once actively using our muscles. So, knees, chest, shin, just using gravity. Just kind of keep the knees down, reach the chest forward, put it onto the floor, put your chin down, and then come to your belly. Hey, we did knees, chest, shin without really using any muscular engagement. Okay, now put your knees down. Press back up to where you were before, kind of this knees down plank position. Now let's think about actively using our muscles to kind of pull us in and thinking bend 1 and 2. So bend 1, push the back of your skull together, squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back body. Bend 1, press the back of your skull together, press the back of your skull towards the sky. Now think bend 2 as you pull your hands towards your knees to shift yourself forward. Keep pulling the pubic bone towards the sternum here and pull your chest to the floor as you drag your shoulder blades down. Lower your chin and come to your belly. Oh, a little bit different of a position there. La, 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 la. Adjust as you get to your belly so that your forearms are on the floor. Setting up for Sphinx pose with the elbows approximately under the shoulders. Engage the lower half of the body. Fine, engage legs. Push the top of the feet down. Press your pubic bone into the mat and squeeze your booty. Keep that going on. Keep that going on. We're going back to the mid and upper back now. Our legs just did some work. They're still going to do some work, but we're going to add back in that upper and mid body. Push your forearms down and then drag your forearms towards your hips. Notice what that does to your body. Drag your forearms towards your hips. Add this idea of bend 1 as well. Push the back of the skull back and squeeze your shoulder blades together. Drag your forearms down as you pull, drag your forearms back as you pull the shoulder blades down your back body. So now we've got bend 1 and 2. Bend 1 is this idea of pressing the skull back instead of just donking the head up towards the sky. Press the skull back like someone has a hand behind your head and you're trying to push into it. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Drag them down your body by pulling your elbows towards your hips. Keep squeezing your booty. If you cannot breathe, go lower, right? We can be lower towards the floor. We're still looking for the ability to find breath and engagement. Soften and release. Okay, let's do some half frog. Come up onto your forearms. Kick your right forearm over. Curl your left heel towards your sit bone. Don't reach back for it just yet, friends. Think about that hamstring engagement. First, push your pubic bone down. Squeeze your butt. Then keeping that, curl your left heel towards your sit bone. Ooh, curl it. Can you get it to touch your sit bone? Can you kick yourself in the butt? I can't. But only when you've done that a little bit, press into the right arm, reach back with your left hand. Now, I'm really just looking for a little bit of a shoulder stretch here and a little bit of quad stretch. If you love this like version of flip frog, you can do it. I just like to take my hand, press it into the inner part of my foot and push back with the foot as I gently turn my shoulder back towards the front. Now, you can pull your heel in closer towards the sit bone and you may feel a quad stretch, especially if you think about squeezing through the left booty and lengthening the left knee towards the back of the mat. You may find a little bit of hip work here. If you really are like, I love me some flip grip frog, go for it, friends. You can also certainly use a strap, but you even don't have to reach your foot. If your foot is nowhere near your hand, this is a great place to be, just thinking about reaching and squeezing, right? It's not that important here. Great. Release. Let's do the other side. Kink your left forearm over. Look back at your right heel. First, squeeze it in. Squeeze it in. Try to touch your booty. Try to touch your booty. It's likely that it won't happen, but maybe it will. Maybe if I Oh, there. If I give myself some speed, and that's kind of fun because you try to like squeeze at the top and give yourself a nice hamstring cramp. Reach back, whatever you'd like. I like to just have my hand press the inner edge of my foot and my foot press the inner edge of my hand. And here we go. If you want to pull your heel in more, go for it. If you want the flip grip, go for it. What are you looking for in your frog? I really find that I sense much more quad if I think about really squeezing my right booty and dragging my right knee towards the back of the mat. That gives me a lot more. Beautiful. We're here for 3, 2, 1. Release and come back to your belly. Okay, funky cobra time. Take your hands, rest on your belly. Take your hands to the outer edges of your mat and even off your mat. Tense your fingertips, put your elbows towards the sky. Yeah, I know that makes your shoulders come up by ears. That's totally fine. I like my legs a little bit more separated for this, a little bit more than hip width, and that feels fine. It feels good on my back and pelvis. So you kind of have to figure this out a little bit for yourself. And then I don't really think about engaging the legs as much as I think about pushing my pubic bone down and dragging it towards my sternum to kind of limit that pelvic movement. Is your butt squeezing? Can you feel your butt squeezing? Find that. Peel your head, chest, and neck off the ground. Let your shoulders come up by your ears. And now think about bend 1. Push the back of your skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back body. Bend 1. Push the back of your skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades onto the back body. Bend 2. Drag your shoulder blades down towards your hip points. You may find that dragging your hands towards your hips really helps with this. You can go lower as well here. Sometimes lowering for bend 2 can be quite helpful. Squeeze your butt. Try to keep your feet down. Bend 1. Bend 2. Can you focus on both of these things? There's a significant bend in my elbows. If you prefer to do this with your hands flat, that's fine too. Can you still breathe? I know there's so many questions and cues happening with back bends. Push the back of your skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and soften. Now, the point of that is to try to find some connection to the musculature in the back. Let's find out if we really did find some connection to the musculature in the back, because now we're going to do a no hands cobra. So this time, set up with your hands just a little bit closer towards your shoulders on flat palms, probably. Push your booty into the floor and squeeze it. Peel your head, neck, and shoulders off. Maybe not quite as high. You'll see what I mean in a second. Find bend 1. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Now drag the shoulder blades down towards the hip points. Here's the kicker. Let your hands come off the floor. Yeah. Try to keep the feet down. This isn't locust pose. Push the pubic bone down. Resist the urge to balloon the belly into the floor and see what you can do with bend 1 and 2. It's hard to talk when I do this. See what you can do with bend 1 and 2 to keep lifting and peeling and coiling your upper body up. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Drag your shoulder blades down towards your hip points. I still think about my elbows dragging towards the back of my mat. Again, this is not locust. Try to keep the legs down. And release. Now, if this were like a long backbend workshop that we did in person, we would probably do that 2 or 3 times together, because these kinds of things are really cumulative and it takes maybe 1, even 2 rounds to just figure out what we're doing and to heat up a little bit, and then we go in and we explore deeper. But this series is more about giving you a toolbox to some of these things, so we're going to leave it at that for right now. Take your hands into the mat, push your knees down, tuck your toes, press up to a little extended tabletop. And then walk your knees in so that they're underneath your hips. A little bit of active tiger pose here. So you know you don't have the block in your thud, but lift your right leg behind you like you do have the block in your thud. Curl your heel towards your sit bone. Keep that pubic bone pulling towards the pelvis and lift up through that right knee. Take your left hand, reach it forward. Big circle back behind you. You're not aiming to grab the foot. We're not aiming to grab the foot. We're just here. Heel towards fingers. Round the left arm back forward. Just doing a little bit of arm flossing while we hold that contracted place with that right knee. Keep it lifted. Big circle the left arm. And back. Beautiful. One more time. Big circle the left arm. And back. Release. All right. Lift the left knee. Squeeze the booty. Curl the heel towards the sit bone. Can you keep the pull of the pubic bone towards the sternum? Right hand forward. Big circle the right arm back like it's reaching for that left heel, but we're not connecting it even if you can. Reach them towards each other. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Circle the right arm forward. Circle it back. One more time, circle it forward. Release the hand. And release the left leg. A little bit of cat-cow in that soft flossing manner. So not thinking about any kind of muscular engagement, just kind of moving back and forth to feel good. All right. A little bit of chin stand prep, because we're not doing chin stands today. We might work towards it in some of our bonus classes, but I do think if there's one thing that's really about the strength of the back line of the body, it is chin stand. And I'll offer it first from a tabletop position, because I think that's a lot more accessible and still very challenging. And then if you want to take it to a short downward facing dog, you can. First, watch if you haven't done this with me before. Chin stand prep. What does that look like? It kind of looks like a combination of the knees, chest, chin that we did with also the block in the thut. And you can keep the block in the thut if you find that that's more helpful for you. In fact, I might just do it because I hate doing it, so I should do it. All right, so like for example, I'm putting the block in the thut. And then I'm going to tuck my other toes just for balance. I lift. Lift as high as I can with minimal change of the pelvis. Ooh, I'm already getting hamstring cramp. That's so nasty. Bend the elbows straight back. And then I think bend 1 and 2 as I pull my chin and chest down towards the floor. Notice they don't just collapse here. They really reach forward. I'm not resting on my elbows, right? I'm not resting on my elbows. And then I push back up. And when I push back up, I think about using the strength of my coiled back body to help me push back up, right? You don't have to go all the way down to the floor. Better to go to that place right before you feel like you're going to collapse and then push back up, right? Now, you can certainly do this. I'm going to do it without the block. From a downward facing dog. I recommend a slightly smaller downward facing dog, not too small, because then you have a lot of load in the arms, but not too wide, otherwise it's just too big of a movement. So I like to bend the knee and curl the heel towards the sit bone for a little bit more engagement, and then you can reach forward, so you can stop here and go back. If you'd like to, you can certainly go all the way down, and then think about the strength of the back body to pull and coil you back. But it is a huge movement. So it's plenty of work, including for a little bit of bent arm strength, to do it from a tabletop position. I do encourage you to join me, if you'd like to, in doing it from a tabletop position with the block in the thut, because why not? So if you're joining me with block in the thut, tabletop, put it in your right leg, lift up. Minimal change of the pelvis here. I like my hands a little bit wider, about as wide as my mat. Grip with the fingers, press into the ground. Then think bend 1. Bend 2 as you pull yourself forward, maybe the chin and chest come to the ground. I like this on an exhale. Take a big exhale. Squeeze the block extra hard and lift yourself back up. The squeeze of the block is actually kind of helpful there. I like it. Let's do 2 more on this side. Lower, bend 1 and 2. Pause, exhale. Lift back up. Ready? Last one. Lower, bend 1 and 2. Coil and curl the back body. Find your exhale. Push back up. Beautiful. Release. Take it to the other side. Okay. Yuck. I hate this. I did it again. I picked the side I didn't really want to do and did a second. This one, for whatever reason, I'm not going to tuck my toe. My body's just telling me no. All right. Prepare. Bend 1 and 2. Come forward. Little chin stand. You can stop wherever. Push back. Bend 1 and 2. Push back. Beautiful. One more like that. Bend 1 and 2. Squeeze the back body, hug your block, push back. Yeah, nice. Release. Ugh. Yikes. Put your block away for the moment. I'm sure we'll see it again. Downward facing dog. Pedal it out, wiggle for a second. And then gently, giving a big bend in the knees, tiptoe the feet up towards the hands. Really a bent kneed ragdoll, because we've been doing a lot of back bending here. Really, really bent kneed. Drip your torso down over your lower body. Even if it looks more like a chair pose, that's great. Think long spine. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep a super solid bend in the knees. Push through your heels and come up to stand, whether it's rolling through the spine or coming up to a stand. Give yourself a little twist in either directions. We'll play with a little bit more hip flossing in a standing position with some balance. Give our arms a break for a second, and then go back down on the floor to prep and finalize for our king pigeon. Okay, transfer the weight into your right leg. Pull your left knee into your chest. Bend into your right leg. That's your bottom leg. Bend into it. This kind of helps to set the pelvis. Keep the bend. Take the left knee out to the left. Use your hand. Keep your hand on your knee. Kick through the outer edge of your ankle. Kick it up. Yeah, that's internal rotation. Keep bending into the bottom leg. That's going to limit how much the pelvis can change. Now, keeping this position of the left leg, wrap the left leg around behind you. Squeeze your left booty, pull your pubic bone up, bend more into the bottom knee because that's going to limit how much your pelvis can change. Now, holding this weird thing, which we often call scorpion here, let's think about bend 1 and 2. Cactus your elbows. Bend 1, press the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bend 2, coil and curl your shoulder blades towards your sit bones. Keep pushing the back of your skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bend your bottom leg. I know, this is awful. I hate it. Bend 1, bend 2. Hold, breathe. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Ooh, I got a nice full body cramp there. Let's do the other side before we freak out a little bit, okay? So again, more bend in the bottom leg means the pelvis cannot move as much, and we're getting a little bit more hip extension and rotation, and we're forcing the bend up to more of our thoracic and also our shoulder blade action, which is what we're looking for today versus kind of the natural flexibility of our lumbar or low back. Okay, enough of a break. Pull the right knee to your chest. Bend your left leg. Bend it. Bend it more than you want to. Take your right knee out. Bend your left leg. Grab onto your right knee. Kick the outer edge of the right leg up. Now, release your hand. Bend into your bottom leg more. Wrap your right leg around behind you in this weird position. Bend into your bottom leg more. Cactus your elbows. Here we are. Bend 1. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bend 2. Pull your shoulder blades down towards your sit bones. Keep the bend in the bottom leg. Squeeze through your right booty. You can touch it. Is it squeezing? Bend 1. Bend 2. Keep breathing. Bend through that bottom leg. Bend 1. Bend 2. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, release. Yuck. My body is warm though. I'll have to tell you that. But I'm going to keep my sweater on because I want to. Come back onto your mat. And make your way into a plank with the knees down, because why not just play with one more knees, chest, chin on our way down to the ground, y'all. So this active knees, chest, chin. Find plank with the knees down. So that means your hips are kind of forward. Think bend 1, push the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, bend your elbows. Then bend 2, drag your shoulder blades down towards your hip points as you pull your chest forward. Chest, chin. Release onto your belly. Okay, locust pose. Y'all, take your arms down by your side. You can rest your forehead down, just changes the mic, so I'm not going to do that. I like to separate my legs a little bit, again, a little bit more than hip distance. Push your pubic bone into the mat. Squeeze your butt. Your hands are back there. Is your butt squeezing? Hey, butt, squeeze. Doesn't have to be the hardest squeeze ever. Just squeeze your butt a little bit. Drag your pubic bone up towards your sternum. Yes, that means you probably won't get as bendy because we're limiting the amount of lumbar change or the low back change. That's okay. We're looking for core engagement and a little bit of muscular work elsewhere. So pelvis stays down. Hip bones stay down. Take a big inhale. Lift everything else off the floor. Think bend 1 and 2 here. Bend 1, push the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then bend 2, imagine someone has their hands around your wrist and they're pulling you towards the back of the mat. Can you make that change? What's happening to you? Pulling you towards the back of the mat. Can you still breathe here? Bend 1, push the back of the skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bend 2, someone's dragging your hands towards the back of the mat as you pull your shoulder blades down. Lift up through the legs, squeeze the booty a little bit more. Lift up through the chest. Lift up through the legs. Lift up through the chest. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, soften. Okay, we're going to do that again, except this time we'll add in at the end a contraction of the hamstring. So a bend of the knees as if we were going into bow pose, but we're not worried about grabbing our ankles. In fact, I suggest you do not grab your ankles, even if you can, because this is about strength of the back line to pull us into this position. As soon as we have the hands there, for a lot of people, it becomes more of just, a closed loop position, which is fine. And we can still find activation there, and we'll do that on another time because we're going to do flip grip bow, another one of these sessions, okay? But for now, we're just doing an active bow, which is probably going to feel a lot yuckier in your body. Back to our locust. Push your booty down. Squeeze. Leave the pelvis on the floor. Lift up. Find bend 1. Push the back of the skull back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. And bend 2. Drag your shoulder blades down. Lift up through your legs a little bit more. Bend 1. bend 2. Keep everything the same. Curl your heels towards your sit bones. Curl your heels towards your sit bones. Squeeze your butt. Bend 1, bend 2. Squeeze your heels towards your sit bones. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ugh. Release. Okay. Yuck. I got some good cramping in my right hamstring, which is usually what happens for me. Here's the deal, pickles. If you have a partner, a fun thing to do now could be to have someone sit on your legs, and you could just focus on the upper body doing lift-ups, whether it's in cactus position or arms out in front of you, arms behind you. That's a nice way to work on kind of finding engagement through the upper body. But there was no partner required for this, so we're not going to worry about that. But I'm just saying that's a great thing to do. Now, what we will do is explore our peak posture, our king cobra. I often go into this with a blanket roll, meaning I'm going to come back to my faves, just one to start, although you can use 2. And I will put it on the mat. Where is it going to go exactly? It's going to go between my belly button and my pubic bone. Between my belly button and my pubic bone. Now, you notice this space is bigger than the blanket roll. Where does it go? I don't know. It depends on your specific anatomy and your flexibility, because you're going to have to explore a little bit. If you can't get up initially, then you're going to have to adjust where the blanket roll is, yeah? And if you find it's not supportive, you're also going to have to adjust where it is. It's meant to just gently hold you in place so you can focus on other things. If it becomes an annoyance, get rid of it, y'all. Get rid of it. So I'm going to lay down on the blanket roll. This is not great if you have to go potty. Please resist doing this maybe if you're pregnant. And it's a blanket roll, so it's not that terrible, right? But it's a little weird, especially if I lay down all the way on my belly, but I can feel my heart beating in my chest. And it's oh, this is interesting. And then, put your hands in a funky cobra position. Elbows up, squeeze your booty, push your pubic bone down. Yes, it's harder because there's a blanket roll there, right? But that's okay. I like my legs a little bit wider again. Squeeze and peel your way up. And once you're up, if it feels more supported, then you've got the blanket roll in the right place for you. If it doesn't, go down and adjust, because I can almost let go way high in this position. So still a little hard. I have to do some muscular work there, but I could almost let go way higher than I could before. I'm going to switch to flat hands here just so I can talk a little bit easier. But in your supported roll, once you've found a place that feels interesting, or you've gotten rid of your roll because it doesn't feel interesting, push the back of your skull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, bend 1. Drag your hands towards the back of the mat. Find bend 2 as you pull those shoulder blades down the back body. This is essentially our setup for our king cobra, right? We've just got those nasty hamstring things, but let's just hang out here for a moment. Hang out here for a moment. We're here for 5, 4, squeeze your back body, 3, 2, 1. Release and lower down to your forearms. Now, one more thing before we do full king cobra, and that's hamstring wake ups. These are yucky, and I like to do them with the blanket roll because it kind of lifts my pelvis a little bit. You can get rid of it if you don't like it. So leaving my legs in a slightly widened position, focus on your right leg first. Think activation to the right leg, and then bend that heel towards the sit bone. Flex your foot. Flex foot to start. Flex the foot. Lift your right knee off the ground, and that's hard to do with the blanket roll. You might have to push a little bit more into the ground with your right elbow. Take some pulses. Hey, of the right heel towards the sky. That's hard, y'all. That's hard. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Point the right toe and squeeze the right toe towards the back of your skull. You don't have to do anything with your skull here. Just squeeze it towards the back of your skull. Is it going to touch? No way. No way close. We're just squeezing. Squeeze, 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 and release. Ugh. That leg felt so heavy when I did that. Let's do the other side. Activation to the left leg. Bend the knee. Flex the foot. Lift it off the ground. Yuck. Pulse. The left heel towards the sky. Finding a little bit of hip extension here. Keep pulsing. All right, point the left toes. Point the left toes. Squeeze the left heel like you were trying to touch your left toes towards the back of your skull. You're not doing anything with your skull. You're not reaching back for it. It's just hanging. And it's probably not going to get anywhere near. Squeeze and lift. Squeeze and lift. I like to push down through my other leg. Squeeze and lift. Ugh. And release. Okay. It's time. So, what do we do if we want to play with king cobra? Some of this depends on your body. Again, I like to go wide with my legs, and that feels fine in my pelvis and lower back. It gives me a little bit more space here. I like the blanket roll. You might not. I like to start by getting into my lifted and supported pigeon. Cobra. Do I keep calling this pigeon, cobra, king cobra. We're doing king pigeon another day in my brain. I like to be on flat hands. Some people like to be on fingertips. They can lift themselves up a little bit more. You can play with this. How much of this is about lifting you back and how much is it about the hamstring? I like to find activation first. So I feel like I can almost lift my hands up, and then it's a coil and curl of my feet. Now, if at some point you're like, I really want to reach my head back, that's fine. You can release a little bit of that bend one, right? And look back and see if you touch your toes. And a lot of you probably will. You can widen your legs a little bit more and get up higher and be like, is this going to work better? Ooh, squeeze, right? This is just to play with. And it's really not important whether or not we touch our heads, right? So if you'd like to join me in any way, shape, or form, you've already done plenty of work for this. But if you do want to join me, we're here playing with this idea of king cobra, where I'm nowhere close to touching my head, but I have some tools to help me find activation of the back body. If you're like, I really, really want to play with this, I totally get that. You can pause the video. You can even try 2 blanket rolls. Like some people like some people like to unroll their first one, put their second one inside of it, and then roll one thick blanket roll. And that could be really, really helpful as far as getting more lift. Some people are not worried about that at all and are like, I'm so over king pigeon. Or there, I just called it again, king pigeon, king cobra. So if that's you, that's fine. You don't have to pause the video. We'll be moving on momentarily. However, if you want to keep playing with this, you totally can. You could take a video of yourself from the side. If you're interested to see, like, am I anywhere close to my head? You can try one leg at a time. That's an interesting place to be. This isn't one of my favorite postures, so I'm not going to play with it for a while, but I am feeling nice and warm and lubricated from some of the other things that we've been doing. So take your choice. Pause the video and play, or let's move on to do a brief cool down together. Move your little dog out of the way. Ugh. All right. Come to your belly just for a moment, regardless of whether or not you've done more king cobra play, and just rest on your belly. Put your forehead down. Let your natural breath return. Maybe wiggle your hips gently from side to side. Roll onto your back body. And we'll only do a brief cool down. We have done a lot of back body work, but not necessarily hanging in too many positions for too long. But on your back, let's do a quick spinal reset. And what I mean by that is reconnection to the core. Although we did a lot of cues about keeping the pelvis in position and trying to move the bend up higher, we use some of our natural lumbar flexibility, and that's not a bad thing, especially if we really just want to get there. And it could be nice to kind of reconnect brain to body with that core here. So hover your legs so that your shins are parallel to the ground. Take your hands to your thighs and press your hands into your thighs back into your hands. Stack your knees above your hips. Press just gently with about 10% power until you feel this gentle turn on in your low belly. Hands into legs, legs into hands. You can also lift your head, neck, and shoulders off the mat for a little bit more core engagement in the upper core if you'd like. Sometimes I like to move my hands a little bit closer to my knees and kind of shift towards one side and sit bone for something new, and then shift towards the other. It's kind of like combining our wandering astronaut, if you've done that with me, with kind of the spinal reset. Kind of shift back to the right. You don't have to do any of this shifting if this is just weird for you. And shift back to the left. Come back to center. Release your feet. Take your arms out to the side. Bring your feet wide and bend your knees about 90 degrees. Sway your knees over to the right and the left. Windshield wipers. Right and left. Right, left, right, left. The next time the knees come to the right, pause. So this is a great place to be. Sometimes I like to take my right foot and kind of gently lay it on my left, thinking about not just pushing down on my left knee, but almost lengthening it away from me. If you prefer a different variation of spinal twist, you are welcome to. I hope whatever happened today in your exploration of a little bit of space through strength, it was an interesting discovery. And it's also normal to be frustrated by some of these things. These are small, minute cues that might not resonate with every body. It's why I try to give so many so that hopefully using slightly different language will hit different people. Release and take it to the other side. Cross your left ankle maybe over your right knee and kind of drag it down and away. Just know that back bends and the work around some of these more complex postures is definitely a cumulative practice that takes a lot of consistency as you gently show your body. Not only is it safe to move into these spaces of end range motion, but also that you have the strength to support it there. And the nervous system starts to relax and give us a little bit more space. We'll continue exploring a lot of different aspects of better back bends throughout this program. So even if this specific class didn't work out well for you, I encourage you to come back and try something else. Release, come back to center. One more time to sway your legs from side to side. And finish up with constructive rest. So keep the feet about as wide as your mat and knock your knees together. If you'd like to keep your arms out, you can. Sometimes I like to just rest my hands on my belly or my chest here. And finish class the same way we started, by just noticing the natural breath. Maybe now we can notice as our back is to the floor without the blanket rolls, the way the back of the heart gently expands into the floor with each exhale, just as much as it widens out to the side and the ribs lift in front. 360 degrees of expansion, and then 360 degrees of hugging back towards that midline. Stay here as long as you'd like, and when you do release, come out slowly. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice, and I'll see you again soon.